Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and welcome to the series of Authenticity and Inclusivity. We have been doing this series for about, I guess, 6 sessions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so this is what we are doing now is this new series based on personality traits and saboteurs. And thank you for joining us wherever you are from the world and whether you're watching us live or in recording. So if you're joining us live, appreciate if you could just drop us a hi, introduce yourself, as we can't really see you. So any question you might have for us, for me or my guest in the chat, put it in the chat and we'll come back to you shortly. And welcome, I'm Aris, your host for today, and with my guest, Lucy, the EQ and leadership coach. So Lucy, we are here today to continue our conversation on the pleaser. Oh, my favorite one, I have to say. Well, I don't know whether it's my favorite one or my unfavorite one, you know.
Well, it seems like it's significant for sure. Can mess with that, huh? Pretty bad, that pleaser, and with others.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that I don't have much of a pleaser, and it really have hijacked me quite a lot over the last, I don't know, 2 years without my realization. So I was like, now I learned is like whichever one you have, they do definitely hijack you at one point or another, depending on the situation. So let's come back to this pleaser. So pleaser, what you would see is trying to gain acceptance, affection by doing, helping, pleasing, rescuing, flattering others. I think so much so lost sight of your own needs, and it can come to the point of resentment. Yeah. What do you want to add on?
Yeah, that each of the saboteurs kind of hijacks our strength and takes it too far and abuses it in many different situations. And so the strength is care for others, love for others, wanting to see others happy, successful. However, when it's, as you mentioned, when it's taken too far by the pleaser, then it's to our own expense. It could be like becoming a martyr, sacrificing ourselves, our needs, in the name of love. However, actually, we get resentful if we're hijacked by the pleaser when we don't get the love in return. I mean, it shows that that was a pleaser messing with us. If there's any positive and negative emotion after, like the resentment, being burned out could be additional consequence of being hijacked by the pleaser. Saying yes to too many people, wanting to please them, feeling needed. However, that can lead to burnout, exhaustion. So it can really mess with our well-being, our performance even at work. If we say yes to too many projects and we spread ourselves too thin, it's not good either.
I want to put in some thoughts about the pleaser. I've been having a lot of conversation, and I see a lot of pleaser in many of my clients. I think we all have it in us. In the old days, I used to think the trait is more evidence in women than men, but it's not true. A lot of guys have it as well. Yeah. And the thought is always about to be a good person. And if I'm not putting people's needs before me, then I'm not really a good person.
Yeah, it's, what comes up for me, it's like the pleasing in a way is when our survival brain gets triggered. So when we sense a danger, we have different responses that become automated. And the pleasing is one of the fawning response, like fight, flight, please, and freeze. They're the 4 main.
Like that one. Instead of 3, it's 4. The flight and now we are not fighting, we're not freezing, we're just pleasing.
Yes.
And so much so that you always putting people before us. And
it's like a survival instinct. Yeah.
The thing is, most of us understand the survival instinct is about that survival as in literally survive, right? And survival is about me first. pleasing is about other people first.
Yeah,
Which a lot of people doesn't seem to
makes
see.
sense.
Yeah.
Well, if we perceive, let's say, the other person is much stronger, more powerful, so it doesn't make sense to fight because they would kill me. So I rather please them so they like me, so they keep me safe.
Okay, I got it. Yeah.
So there's a strategy behind it.
Yeah, I think Laura says all saboteur come from the environment that we are in, plus your personality that you picked up that this is the way to best work for you. And that come in terms of thoughts that I must make people like me. You know, if I don't put people first, then that's just
then they might
bad.
reject me, and
Yeah, they
I
might
might be
reject me, and
isolated,
also that doesn't.
abandoned, I might die.
And
Says the
it's also
survival
kind of
brain.
feeling that I'm a bad person. I must be a good person. I need to be a good person. And a lot of the feelings of I put people before me and then neglect my own feeling. Anything else?
Yeah, you've mentioned the
Of course,
thoughts. So I need to be a good person. I need to serve others. I need to help others. Somebody needs to do that. You've mentioned the feelings that are connected to being hijacked by the pleaser. The behavior we've mentioned, to like spreading ourselves too thin, saying yes even when we want to say no, because we are afraid maybe to make the person upset. They wouldn't like us if we say, you know, or we wouldn't get any other opportunity. So it's coming from the fear of rejection.
Yeah. You know, pleaser is all about gaining attention and acceptance. And looking at it a little bit below that iceberg, which I like to say is kind of having it's kind on the surface, it look like I'm a good person, it's all about you. But below that iceberg is about my own emotional needs.
Of course,
I
yeah.
am quite a pleaser, even though it didn't came out the top when I did. So I was very happy. No pleaser, you know. Which is why it came out without me realizing.
They can be sneaky, those saboteurs, and
It
hide
does.
from our sight.
Yeah. So the thing is, it is a need of one. I find this very interesting. Two things here: attention and acceptance. And I'm just because I'm the youngest child. So as the youngest one, you always get, you know, you're the young one, you get pushed yourself. So you don't feel that you're being heard and you want to get attention. So you need to be pleasing and doing all those things. So I realized that was that a little bit of that component. I wanted to have attention. And I think that kind of, yeah. So which I find the interesting part about pleaser is attention and acceptance. Right, you need people to accept you. You want the attention. So the way to do is, I help you. I'm being good. I'm just trying to do all this for you.
Yeah.
Do these people will like me.
You're not the sport child.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm
the
the
helpful
super
child.
child, not the sport child. I'm doing everything to do. So it's about what do you call it? The unmet needs. Needs are not being met, and then you kind of do things to satisfy your inner needs.
Absolutely. Just like it's about everything what we do is basically about satisfying our needs. It's just sometimes the way we go about it is actually harming us. Yeah. And so the saboteurs do satisfy our key needs. It's for love, for connection, for feeling even significant in some, you know, for certainty, to be safe. When others like me, I can feel safe. For contribution to others, for growth. So they satisfy a lot of basic human needs that are normal. However, when the saboteur, instead of the sage, our true authentic self, you might say in your language, or the sage in the PQ language, if it's done through the saboteur, that it can actually hurt us and hurt our relationships with others, because it's doesn't have access to the higher thinking brain. It's just going through the survival brain.
Yeah, that's a good one. I mean, kind of classifying between the inner needs versus the behavior. We may have the same need, but the way we seek that needs can come up quite
Absolutely.
different. It's about understanding that what is this behavior coming from, what needs that we are seeking. And
Absolutely.
with that, I want to kind of go to our our D's, the D, I, S, and C. So we always start with the D. And yeah, I'm wondering, what do you see D and the pleaser? D characteristic is dominant, very driven. Do you see
Task and goal oriented.
Yeah.
I would say if the person doesn't have like the other parts of the personality are not that much expressed, probably not big on pleasing, because the main focus is getting things done rather than being oriented more focused on people. There could be also combinations. So D could have other aspects in them, so they can be kind of half and half. But if it's like a pure D, then probably not as easy to be hijacked by the pleaser. Or yeah.
I'm thinking of this. Actually, to be honest, I'm not sure whether I'm a bit biased in this, based upon my own experience. I find pleaser have a very close link with the I, because the fundamental of I style behavior come from the needs of acceptance. So I feel there is a very strong correlation between the I and the pleaser. But I'm thinking we could just go one round and talk through direct and the kind of, I don't really see that. And then I want to kind of talk through a case that's saying that actually in reality, none of us, no, I wouldn't say none are wrong. I would say we are not so simple as in, oh, I'm a D, I'm an I, I'm an S, I'm a C. We are a combination. And whichever one you are in, you can have that. And I have a recent case, which I think the client I don't know whether it's a pleaser. I haven't looked at her saboteur. I'm diverting a little bit, but we started looking at her strength. And from her strength, I kind of gather she is not so much on an I, but initially I thought she wasn't kind of an I, but then as I look at her strength, not this, and I kind of think something is different from what I thought. So we started talking about it. And then when she did her this, and then I saw the profile, I was like, I kind of see the correlation between this and strength. The reason I'm talking about pleaser is because pleaser come from wanting to, you see, I don't know whether I'm jumping too much ahead. You see, D is about dominance, driven, and very task, big picture focus. Okay. So I is coming from the need of being accepted, which is why they always being very friendly. How about you? And people generating energy and things like that. S is also about people, but it's more supportive. So I see that the I and the S are closer to a pleaser in general. More people,
oriented.
And C is less of that, because C is about getting work done. So generally I do see some kind of correlation in each of the saboteur to some of these characteristic, which one. But the thing is, most people generally they have this middle, if you look at this graph, they always have like below and above that so-called the line,
the baseline.
The baseline. And most of us have 2 above and 2 below, generally. Most, I would say all. There are people who only have 1, there are people who have 3 above, then they have that means they're adaptable to have everything. And it's interesting if you can see somebody who is more task, yet can be a good leader, as in really care about the people. And where does that come from? I just feel there's a little bit of pleaser there, but yet it's a C and a D.
Yeah, totally possible. Yeah. So what would it look like when somebody is, let's say, D and at the same time can be hijacked by a pleaser?
Yeah, that's why I
Um,
thought it's very interesting to do that. So I'm just kind of jumping ahead. So I think if I slow down and say true, like pleaser is really, I would say, high in empathy, people caring, giving, very tuned to feel feelings and needs, emotionally aware, all these strengths, right? So their strength is very correlated to our I and S. Less D and C in the strength, but you can still see a D and a person who is D and C preference star still have a pleaser. That's what I'm trying to say. It's kind of like how that come together, but that can happen.
yeah, absolutely. Any type of personality can be hijacked by any type of saboteur.
Yes.
Because it comes from keeping ourselves safe, comes from maybe survival strategy, survival instinct. So what would it look like from a D personality? Could pleaser and I would say maybe a controller even could come to play with the pleaser.
Okay, I think we start trying to mix. Okay, the reality is, in the saboteur, you have the main judge coming in to judge, and the judge have the three
Yeah.
component, which is the inner critics, the comparison, and the judging of the environment. And then
Yeah.
that judge plus one of the accomplished saboteur, which is what we are going in, can create a lot of things. So I think if we start going into that, I think we'll go into everywhere. So I'm just thinking we stick to the pleaser, but bring the pleaser into this four so-called star that we see. And how can that happen? Probably would be more interesting. Yeah, I don't know whether we've
I
got any
see.
questions so far. There's no questions. Yeah.
No questions so far.
Yeah.
What comes up for me is, let's say, if they are, it could be more, just like last time we were talking about the hypervigilant and the dominant personality. It could come in different areas. So let's say at work, the person can be very driven, task-oriented, let's get things done, big picture thinker, strategic. At home might have a little different side of them show up, more of the, let's say, if it's a guy with a wife, if it's a woman with her husband, kind of showing up a little bit differently, possibly. In stress response, it could be like a stress response. If they're under stress, they go to the pleaser versus into the dominance. What comes up for you? What do you think?
That's a good one, because in these profile that we do, there is kind of three profiling. One is the environment that you adapt. That's fine. Then one is so-called your mirror, as how you perceive yourself to be. And then there's one, say, under stress. When you're under stress, for example, I'm a I, right? But under stress, I slip into an S. That means I become very dominant and I'm quiet. Somebody with an I, when they are under stress, they can become a D or anything that can happen.
Yeah.
So it's just saying that when you're under stress, a part that will come out as the instinct to protect, and whichever that will be. So the pleaser may come out during that part. Yeah. So it may not be a dominant I or S, which is kind of leans towards a pleaser. That means because I and S is more people-centric. That means they're generally more loving, giving, empathetic, right? Very tuned to other feelings. So D and C are less, they are more focused on getting things done. But when they're under stress, they could tune into something else and show something quite differently, which is the interesting complexity of
it could be confusing for like, oh my God, how does this person behaving? So it could be confusing to watch, maybe, that you would never expect this person to behave this way, but it's possible that it's just their stress response.
Believe that it's important not to see ourselves just in terms of the D's profiling,
absolutely,
strength profiling, or even a saboteur. It's a lot wider aspect, and every aspect give you like so-called a favor of yourself. And then when you have all the dimension together, then you kind of understand how the things kind of I don't know, link together and then how you pop
Yeah.
up or whatever. And before we go into that, John put a comment here, which I thought was a good one. He said, the challenge I have with the pleaser is that we all have this within us. Thumbs up. Because yes, we all have it in us. Yeah. Because it comes from the needs of acceptance, and gaining attention. And if we look at human needs, right, one of the needs is to relate to people. Even you have spectrum, there is also this instinct need to relate to people, just that you may not know how to relate to people. Yeah. So we are social creatures. Oh, John just say that, and we want to fit
Thank
in.
you, John.
Exactly. Yeah. So even you have a spectrum, they still have that part they want to, just that they don't know how, and they can be very awkward and make them feel a lot more challenges, and they can be even more withdrawn. I'm saying this not from Google. I'm saying this from experience. Okay. I'm really seeing this. So to recognize our pleaser, we have to go deep within to deal with our own identity. John, I cannot agree more. I find that ultimately is our identity who we are. And in I've seen a lot of this, and I'm including myself, that the only way to kind of overcome this is like what you say, to go inside rather than to go outside. And what I've seen in a lot of people, including myself, I would say even my children, is we tend to go out, and only at a certain, most people, I won't say all, or when you're very reflective, or you're willing to go deep, to kind of be honest with yourself, then you can actually move that outside into the inside and be honest.
So are you talking about getting the need met for acceptance coming from inside?
No, the insight is to really to know your identity and accept your identity. You see, as a pleaser,
so like being self-aware,
seeking the attention is always on the outside, which is why this is all they're doing. The way to stop doing is to recognize where your pleaser is coming from and who am I as a person. So, I mean, I'm just reading out what John have said, and I'm saying, John, I can't agree more, because this is also the work that, he's doing and I'm doing as well, which is why back to what with this topic of authenticity and inclusivity. You can never be authentic if you are going to be a pleaser, because it's about other people. I need to please them. I need to make them say, I need to make them like me. Why? It's because you cannot accept who you are. If you are good enough, why do you need to do all this thing? What is it, all this? So all this that we're talking about is to recognize the behavior that help you. Now, when we recognize our behavior, what does that mean? I think it's quite deep to say, let's jump in. Like, this is a swimming pool. I think the swimming pool come to mind. I cannot say, okay, I'm going to learn to swim. I jump straight into the 3 meter. I'm going to drown. I can't swim, right? I'm just saying that start by maybe go to the shallow pool, learn how to kick, how to use your hand, how to breathe, and then gradually move into the deep pool. And that's what I'm saying. So noticing your behavior and what does that behavior means, it will help them going straight in there. That's part.
Yeah, it's part of emotional intelligence, kind of knowing ourselves, being aware of what are our strengths, what are some of our weaknesses possibly, or what are the things we need to be aware of that we might be possibly hijacked by some saboteurs. And having that knowledge, having that information awareness can actually help us make better decisions, and really behave and be from our best self rather than being hijacked and being in the survival mode. So knowing ourselves kind of gives us the freedom to really be who we truly are, versus being kind of imprisoned by our fears, by our biases in a way. And it also allows us to be truly connected genuinely with others, and more authentically and deeply too, because we don't have to wear the mask that the saboteurs might put on to protect us, but we can be vulnerable and open with others and care for them, not through a pleaser, but through true care, unconditional care, that comes from a place of abundance rather than I'm caring because I need you to care for me, from a place of more like lack.
Yeah, love everything that you say. The awareness, knowing ourselves, and when we know ourselves, then that's when we get the true freedom. And rather being imprisoned by the fear and the biasness, and we can kind of be vulnerable. And I think that vulnerability is actually courage and strength. I think Burnett Brown is famous for vulnerability. So there's a lot of that she say, come back to that strength. And go back to the authenticity, because when we are doing a lot of things, it's because we look outside and for the acceptance and the connection, because it's about, like John said, human needs, right? And we didn't realize that actually we have to look inside to be the acceptance and being comfortable with our identity. Then we can be comfortable with others, and we no longer need that mask as a protection, which is why all those saboteurs is doing all those things. It's always a surface behavior. Yeah, I like to say the true care and the abundance, rather from coming from the fear and the needs. Yeah,
or a manipulation in a way. What is on the one side is true care, on the other one could be manipulation. I'm gonna show like, yeah, I care, but I actually want you to care and give me something.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing this because I have a motive. So maybe, to be honest, I think the pleaser may not even realize they have a motive, but they are trying to satisfy a needs. The needs have the attention, the needs of being accepted, which is why they're doing it. But when you are still caring, but the care doesn't need to come from, oh, I need you to accept me, I need you to like me, but I just simply care for you. And then don't have to have that swing mood and fear anymore. Yeah.
I think I want to just add one more thing. You've mentioned, the pleaser is not maybe even aware. And I think that's a key thing, because when we become aware of what's happening with us, then we can actually change it and eliminate the pleaser or reduce it and say, yes, wow, I almost said yes to something that I actually want to say no. Let me take a moment here. And you know what? I would love to say yes, but I'm sorry, I have already other commitments. And be comfortable with being uncomfortable in a way.
Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. John, do you like the quote? Be comfortable with the uncomfortable. I think I should put this down. I like this. Yeah. So be comfortable with the uncomfortable. Okay. Yeah, I like this. And we have 3 minutes. I thought we can just wrap up and summarize what we have discussed. Do you want to go and wrap up?
Let me see. So what we've discussed, we discussed what are some markers for the
I can jump in, you can maybe
go for it.
So I think we started off as usual to talk about the pleaser, the traits, the characteristic, and talk a lot about the strength. And then we also talk about what's the thoughts they have. Oh, I need to be a good person. If I'm not, then if I don't put the people needs before me, then I'm really a bad person. A lot of the thoughts coming in. If I don't rescue people, who can? And then a lot of the feelings they have. And I share about my own self, why I think my pleaser come from is needing the attention and then the acceptance. I do recognize that. And then we talk about what that the so-called the obvious connection and the not so obvious connection with the D's, like I and S is pretty obvious, because they all come from the empathetic, loving, and giving, which is why it's like, definitely see a pleaser there. But the D and the C probably less, but doesn't mean you won't have. Is what, depending on the circumstances, that might trigger off. I think that's what we talk about. And then of course I start reading about what John's comments, and then we kind of go into that, talking about that looking outside versus the inside. And only when we look inside and we become comfortable with our own identity, recognizing who we are, accepting who we are, and loving ourselves first. And that's where things start to make a difference. Yeah.
That's when we can be free of the fears of the saboteurs. When we have compassion for ourselves. When we also realize when we are hijacked by the judge, which is the master saboteur, and judging ourselves, judging others. And that's when we can be really authentic ourselves.
And I want to read this last line. John said, the quality of your life is directly comparable to the amount of uncertainty you can deal with in life. I just, as he said, this one word come to mind is resilient, right? So if you cannot deal with what's happening in your life, then your quality of life is going to go down this way. So it's two words come to mind. One is resilient, and one is mental health.
And I would say also growth, because one of the definition of the growth is kind of getting outside of our comfort zone. So it's kind of being uncomfortable and having some sense of uncertainty too, and being able to tolerate it and navigate it, and definitely resilience come with it.
Because there's no such thing as 100% certainty in life. There's always the uncertainty. Is how can you go beyond that stretch zone and be comfortable? If you can't, then you'll always be spiraling and getting yourself stressed and things like that. And if there's no question from anyone, I think we will wrap up for today. And Lucy, any last word from you?
Now I'm thinking, who is the next one? Who is our next saboteur?
After pleaser, what's that? Restless? Oh my God.
I know that one.
I got a lot of talk about restless. I have some big found kind of I don't know, enlightenment with restless, pleaser, and my super I. Recent. Yeah. So next week we're going to talk about restless. And John, love to have you here. And more questions, anybody just pop in here and then we'll come.
Let us know.
So we will see you next week, same time.
Thank you, everybody. And thank you, Aries, for having me, and looking forward to our next talk.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. See you.